Hello everyone, welcome to my page where I share my thoughts and opinions on various topics. Today I want to talk about something that is very important to me, Israel. I know that this is a very controversial and divisive topic, and I respect everyone's right to have their own views and beliefs, but I also want to share mine, and I hope that you will listen with an open mind and a respectful attitude. So, let me start by saying this. I support Israel as a state for the Jewish people, but I am not a Zionist.
What does that mean? How can I support Israel without being a Zionist? Isn't that a contradiction?
Well, no, it's not. And I will explain why, but first, let me tell you a little bit about myself and where I come from.
Do you know your ancestry and heritage? How does that affect your identity and worldview?
I am a Jew. I was born in France but raised in Canada. But my children's roots go back to the ancient land of Israel. They are a descendant of both the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah, the two biblical kingdoms that existed in the land of Israel before they were conquered and exiled by the Assyrians and the Babylonians. The kingdom of Israel was the northern kingdom, composed of 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel. The kingdom of Judah was the southern kingdom, composed of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. The kingdom of Israel was destroyed by the Assyrians in 722 BCE, and most of its people were scattered among the nations. The kingdom of Judah was destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE, and most of its people were taken into captivity in Babylon. Some of the exiles from both kingdoms eventually returned to the land of Israel, and some of them never left, but many of them remained dispersed among the nations, forming the Jewish diaspora that exists to this day. My children are a product of that diaspora. Their ancestors came from different places and cultures, but they all shared one thing: their Jewish identity and their connection to the land of Israel.
Do you feel a connection to the land of Israel? Why or why not?
My children grew up learning about the history and culture of the Jewish people, and the land of Israel was always a part of that. They learned about the biblical stories and the prophets, the kings and the judges, the wars and the miracles, the temples and the rituals, the exile and the return. They learned about the Jewish values and traditions, the holidays and the prayers, the laws and the customs, the language and the literature. They learned about the hardships and the persecutions, the pogroms and the inquisitions, the ghettos and the expulsions, the Holocaust and the resistance. They learned about the hopes and the dreams, the aspirations and the achievements, the pioneers and the heroes, the statehood and the independence. They learned that Israel is not just a place, but a people. A people has a history, a culture, a religion, a faith, and a destiny. And at this moment, even if you're a Jewish atheist, it doesn't matter. The connection is still there. A people that have survived and thrived against all odds. A people that has a right and a duty to live in their ancestral homeland. That is why I support Israel as a state for the Jewish people. Because I believe that Israel is the fulfillment of a divine promise, a historical justice, and a moral necessity.
Do you support the right of the Jewish people to have a state in their ancestral homeland? Why or why not?
But supporting Israel does not mean that I agree with everything that Israel does. It does not mean that I ignore or justify the mistakes and faults of Israel. It does not mean that I disregard or deny the rights and needs of other people who live in the land of Israel. And it certainly does not mean that I am a Zionist. What is Zionism? Zionism is a political movement that was founded in the late 19th century by a group of secular Jews who wanted to create a national home for the Jewish people in the land of Israel. They believed that the only way to solve the problem of anti-Semitism and persecution was to establish a sovereign and independent Jewish state. They were inspired by the nationalist movements that were emerging in Europe at the time, and they adopted the methods and ideologies of those movements. They organized congresses and committees. They raised funds and awareness. They lobbied and negotiated. They immigrated and settled. They fought and resisted. They were determined to achieve their goal with or without the consent of the local population, with or without the approval of the international community, and with or without the blessing of God.
Do you know the history and the ideology of Zionism? How do you feel about it?
I respect the courage and dedication of the early Zionists, and I acknowledge the role that they played in the establishment of the State of Israel. But I do not share their vision or their values. To me, Zionism is a movement that was started by atheists who wanted to defy God, just like the people who built the Tower of Babel. They thought that they could create a Jewish state without following the Jewish law, without observing the Jewish commandments, and without waiting for the Jewish Messiah. They thought that they could achieve their goal without God's help. But no, they could not. They needed God's help, whether they realized it or not, whether they admitted it or not, whether they liked it or not. I believe that God was behind the creation of the State of Israel, not Zionism. I believe that God allowed the Zionists to establish the first stage of a Jewish state, but that was not the end of the story. I believe that God has a plan and a purpose for the State of Israel, and that plan and purpose are not the same as the Zionists. I believe that God wants the State of Israel to be a holy and righteous state, a state that follows His laws and His ways, a state that serves as a light and a blessing to the nations, a state that prepares the way for the coming of the Messiah. That is why I am not a Zionist, and I never will be. I am simply a Jew who believes in the land that God gave us.
Do you believe that God has a plan and a purpose for the State of Israel? What do you think it is?
Of course, remember that time does not exist for God, and when the time is right, everybody in the world wakes up and realizes that there is only one Creator, and they will have a chance to redeem themselves. The rest we'll leave for another video. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you found it interesting and informative. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and follow my page for more content like this. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I would love to hear from you and have a respectful dialogue. Until next time, shalom and God bless.